Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Brookfield Zoo's Facebook Live. Today, we are going to be talking about animals in motion. My name is Jen. I'm joined by Francine, Manelia, and Marcia. We are all animal care specialists in the Animal Ambassador Department. So first up, we are going to be talking about Timo, our two-toed sloth. So Timo is a Linnaeus two-toed sloth. And we're trying to get him to want to go on the tree to show you his movement. But he really only wants to show off how a baby sloth moves today. But normally they do spend most of their time hanging upside down in the trees, which they're well adapted to. You can see these, they're almost like hooks, their claws are, so they can hang without much effort at all. Their front limbs are very strong. So they can hold their whole body weight with just those two front, but then they also have the extra help with the back. And although he's a two-toed sloth, he does have those 3 claws on the back there, and only 2 on the front. So that is how they spend most of their time. They really don't have to move very fast, so they are slow, as everybody knows. Because they just eat all of the leaves around them, they don't have to move around very much. It's warm where they live in the tropical rainforest, so they don't have to spend energy regulating their body temperature, and they just hang upside down in the trees all the time. They do come down about once a week to go to the bathroom, and if they need to crawl to get to another tree, if they can't get through the limbs, they can do sort of an army crawl. But they don't have enough to support their body weight. Even though they're strong, they're just not built like that. So they just kind of crawl along on the ground. But what's surprising, they're actually really good swimmers. So they're about 3 times faster swimming than they are in the trees. And they do a breaststroke. So with those strong front limbs, they can go pretty fast. And so those are the main ways that they move around, is just climbing in the trees, hanging on mom, or, coming down crawling or dropping into the water and doing the breaststroke.
Why do you suppose they come down to the ground to go to the bathroom and not just hang?
Well, they don't want predators to know that they're up in the tree, so they'll come down and kind of make a little hole and go to the bathroom.
I see.
The tree. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. All right. Who are we going to next?
All right, we can do Casper next. So Casper is a ball python. And right now I'm kind of showing off what helps her move around. It's these really big scales that she has on her underside. Compared to the front, they're pretty big. And that's because that's what helps her move around. So we're gonna put her on this tree. I think she'll like the tree a little bit better than Timo does. And so you can see right now, Casper's just kind of inching along forward. So ball pythons and other pythons, they're considered to be kind of heavier snakes. So they use rectilinear motion. They don't move very fast. So it's hard to see because it's so small movements, but she has so many ribs with muscles attached to those ribs. And what she's doing is she's using the muscles to propel herself forward. And those big scales on her underside are sort of helping her move along, sort of helping her grip the surface. So the muscles are sort of pressing into those scales, which then are inching her forward slowly. But since her whole body is basically muscle, she can propel her whole body forward with just those muscles. So Casper is not very fast, as you can see. She did move a little quickly. I startled her there. But they can only go about 1 mile per hour at their very fastest. And that's because she really doesn't have much of a use for being quick. She will just kind of lay in wait for her prey. And then she is a constrictor. So she uses those muscles that not just for moving, but also for constricting her prey. But she doesn't need to be very fast. So she only goes about a mile per hour. And this species also is not very good at swimming. So she's mainly terrestrial, or there are species that you can see are kind of arboreal. They can use the same techniques on the ground as they do on the tree, as long as there's enough texture for them to grip onto.
How big will Casper eventually get?
Casper, I believe, is about full grown, so ball pythons are not very big. A lot of times people have them as pets just because this is a relatively manageable size.
And how long is she?
Right now, maybe 3 feet. So not too long, and as you can see, she's not very thick either. But compared to some snakes, like the faster snakes can be very thin. If anyone's ever seen a garter snake in their backyard, those are very thin, small snakes, and they move very quickly. So compared to them, she's pretty thick, and she doesn't need to move that fast.
And would she spend most of her time in a tree?
She wouldn't. She would spend most of her time on the ground.
Ah.
She obviously can do pretty well in the tree, but that's not usually where she would be.
And why is she white?
So that is a great question. Casper is a leucistic ball python, which is a little bit different from being albino. If she was albino, she would also have the pink eyes. That is characteristic of albino animals. So she is leucistic, which means she just doesn't have this pigment in her skin or her scales.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the duck.
Hello, everyone. This is Penny. Penny is a North American wood duck, and she is the female, so the males are much more brightly colored. Now, it's springtime out there right now, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen the native birds and that they're in their breeding plumage right now. So Penny has molted over the winter time, and now she has these beautiful feathers. They move, they can't fly, and when they do fly, I don't know if you've seen ducks fly, but their wings do make a whistling sound. But another thing that she likes to do a lot is swim, and I'm going to show you how she can swim. She's pretty good at it.
Do you think Pascal minds sharing this pool?
No. So you see she has web feet, and she's a very good swimmer, and she's very buoyant.
Her feathers are almost purple.
Yeah, she does have iridescence in part of her feathers. I guess she's not too interested in eating today. I think she's concentrating on the camera.
It's very exciting.
But these are a native bird. They're a native duck to this area. So if you're lucky enough to see them, they do nest up in trees pretty high up in a cavity. And the babies, after they are hatched, they actually, usually that tree is hanging over the water, but not all the time. And they do fall pretty far, and they do survive.
How fast can she swim?
She could probably swim, just like an average duck. I don't know what the miles per hour would be.
Does she dive for food?
Yes, she does, but I was trying to demonstrate that, but she really doesn't seem very hungry right now. I could try one more. She usually does go after them.
Well, she's making a very cool noise.
Yeah, she does. She makes little vocalizations. She has a wide variety of vocalizations.
Now, compared to the mallard ducks, which I think people are probably more familiar with, they're a little bit more common.
Right.
How big is she compared to them?
She's smaller
Okay.
than a mallard. A mallard is probably 1.5 times bigger than her. She's just like, I don't know what her length would be, maybe a foot. A mallard is probably more like 2 feet. From this point to the back.
Yeah.
You want to come out?
She's like, maybe, I don't know.
You can get a better look at her webbed feet. Oops, there she goes. She's demonstrating her flight.
So are ducks good flyers? They always seem kind of awkward.
They can fly when they're molting, molting means that they're shedding out the old plumage. They usually do not fly then, so they're very vulnerable at that time. You can see she's got all her beautiful feathers in.
They are very
so she
pretty.
can fly. Of course, they're not going to fly like a crow or an eagle. It's a little bit different. Normally, they don't have to fly for long distances, although some ducks do migrate, so those guys do.
Great.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you learned a little bit about animals in motion. And just a reminder, Brookfield Zoo is now open. You can reserve tickets in advance. So we hope to see you here soon. Thank you.